everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evore, as you all know, and we have a special guest today. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, Barner Golumsky-Jones. I am from San Diego and a Delta flight attendant.
Yay! Delta in the building! Okay, so Barner is a breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
The first male breast cancer survivor I'm having on my platform, and I was so excited to meet you today. So, do you mind? I have a couple of questions
Sure.
for you. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. So, do you mind telling us about yourself? How did it start? At what point did you realize that you had cancer, breast cancer, and what were the symptoms? What were the symptoms, and how long ago was that?
Oh boy, so 18 years ago, I was going through a life transformation, and I used to play football at North Carolina State, and I got injured my senior year. I got really heavy, weighed over 400 pounds, and I decided that I was going to set out on a weight loss journey. So during that weight loss journey, I got to a certain point where my body didn't look exactly like I wanted it to look. So the opportunity was that I could do plastic surgery and have that excess skin removed. And so on my 24th birthday, that tells you how old I am. On my 24th birthday, I went in after I'd had skin removal, and the doctor said to me that he had some good news and he had some bad news, that they had found something while they were doing the skin removal. And I said, Doc, what's in the good news fix the bad news? Mm-hmm. And he said, we're 99% sure that it can. He said, Barner, you have stage 1 carcinoma of the breast. And it was carcinoma in situ, and directly what would have been directly behind the nipple, which is a traditional starting point, especially what they have found later in men. And he told me that they had found it when they did the surgery, that the tissue didn't look correct when they cut me open. And so he wanted to send it off and do the samples, and sure enough, it was breast cancer. And I looked at him stunned. I was completely shocked, and I said, Doc, I don't think that's the right sample. I think that it was probably a lady that you had done a breast augmentation for that same day. And he said, Barner, I worked on you for 14 hours that day. I didn't do any other surgeries. He said, you have breast cancer, and it's okay. He said, it's the first time that I've had any situation of a male having breast cancer, but we're going to get you the right help, and we're going to get you to the right doctors. And I said, well, Doc, what's your schedule look like today? What can we do to go ahead and resolve this? He said, well, we think we're just be able to do a second bilateral mastectomy and then some type of chemistry treatment, but we have to let the Mayo Clinic, that's who he referred me to, they'll let the Mayo Clinic and do medical kind of come up with the plan. I go, no, I think we should clear the calendar and just go ahead and cut it out today. And he said, we can't operate like that. And so it kind of set me on my journey. And it was actually not until about 2008, 2009 that I decided that I wanted to actually talk about it. And so Delta was a big piece of me being able to have a platform to talk about it. And so now, as a flight attendant, every October I get the opportunity to talk about male breast cancer, and that it is out there, and that we do see men, and we do see an increase in men with technology that has come about and been developed. We're now able to detect it more so. So I think it's more important now than ever to tell that story.
Yeah. So basically, if not for the operation, you wouldn't have even found out.
The doctor said that I would have lived to be 40. I just turned 45 this week.
Oh my God.
Or last week. Yeah. So,
oh wow.
So I was very lucky to to have caught it when I
Mhm.
did, and it saved my life.
Yeah. Wow. So from my calculation, you had breast cancer over 18 years ago.
Correct.
Wow. And 2009, that was like a couple of years later, that was when you decided
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, that's when I decided to talk about it. It was 2008, 2009, and at the time I was a customer for
For
Delta.
Delta, yeah.
And I got involved in the Relay for Life.
Relay for Life.
Yep. And it gave me an opportunity to be able to talk about it. And then at that point, the American Cancer Society brought me on to do a Real Men Wear Pink platform here in Atlanta. And I did that for a couple of years. And then when I came to InFlight in 2019, so I'm pretty recent hire.
Yeah.
But in 2019, when I came to InFlight, it gave me the opportunity to even go that much further, to be able to tell the story. And every day during the month of October, I'm able to tell my story on the airplane.
Yeah.
And I fly a lot of hours during the month of October just so that I have the opportunity to do that, to support our fellow employees and to support the rest of the world. What better opportunity to tell your story?
Yeah. That's nice. That's nice. All right, so I'm going to jump to the next question. You kind of answered it, but I have other questions that goes with it. So, what changed for you? How did you react to the news? And what were your first thoughts when you found out?
I was in shock, to be honest.
You were in shock?
I was in shock.
Okay.
And I think, I'm a very matter-of-fact person. Let's get things done. Let's get things fixed. Let's move on to the next task. And in my mind, I couldn't rationalize that here I was, this young, I had gone through a total body transformation to try to be healthy, and yet I was being told that it was not something that I had caused, but something that was external that could have the potential of taking me out of the world. And so I think that really put me in a state of shock. I was also going through a very unique time in my life because I had recently come out to my family and they did not accept me for who I was. And so I did it by myself. And it was a very difficult time in my life, but it taught me how to really fight. But it also taught me compassion. It taught me a lot of compassion for people that may be going through something that they don't have that support at work. And I think no matter what it is, I think that people need to be able to have that platform and to hear that somebody else is there to support them.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so this question is kind of tricky because you just said that was the time.
I just threw you for a loop, right?
That was the time you came out, so you didn't have like a lot of support. So weren't your family? I was going to ask like, how did your family and friends take it?
Yeah. So I had my aunt.
Okay.
And she accepted me for being. And she had actually, at the same age that I was when I was diagnosed, she had been diagnosed with melanoma of the eye, and she lost her eye.
Is that a type of cancer?
It is. It's a cancer, yep. Traditionally, it's more skin. But for whatever reason, she was diagnosed with melanoma of the eye. So she lost her left eye. And so she knew what it was to go through something, but she also accepted me for being me. And so that gave me kind of the network. My cousins, all of my cousins were very supportive, but my direct family was not supportive. And so I did have a network, but it was a little bit more extended because they weren't we weren't living in the same house or we weren't together all the time, but I did have that. Unfortunately, my aunt passed away in 2011 from cervical and ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And so my best friend, so it gives me even more reason to go and tell my story, because I might have the opportunity to save somebody.
Yeah. So when you found out that you had cancer, even at that, you didn't get like the support from your direct family.
No, I didn't. And I was single at the time, and so, but it actually kind of gave me the internal fight even more.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's certain things I'll say and there's certain things I won't, obviously, but I went through a position in my life where either you got on board with me or you didn't.
Yeah.
And so I used to call it my FU phase. And it was, if you didn't want to participate in my life, then go ahead, step out the door.
Yeah.
And I think now I had to learn how to transition that, right, to be actually the human being that I am, and be very loving and warm, and caring, and genuine. And so that was, but I think that was a phase, because you go into kind of the mindset of survival, and to fight, and to live, to see, whatever that next day might be. But it did give me a deeper appreciation for a lot of people.
So, mind if I ask, do you have a relationship with them now?
My parents?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a relationship with my parents. I got married, my husband, and we got married in 2014. So this year we'll celebrate 9 years. Is that right? 9 years. And so but I did not have any support, or have not had any support from them. And that's okay, right? Everybody has their beliefs and their life, and I have no problem telling that part of my story too, because for me, for those kids that are out there who may be going through something, there are people out there to support them.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to be able to have that network.
Yeah. So, do you have like siblings?
I do. I have a sister. She and I have not really spoken in a very long time. She lives next door to my parents. My parents still own a family grocery store and farm, and so she works on the farm and works at the grocery store. So I'm kind of the black sheep that moved away, moved to California, and now living my dream. I always said I wanted to be a flight attendant when I was a kid, and my dad would always say, "You don't need to be an air waitress." And so my godmother was a flight attendant, and I took my first flight with her when I was 4 years old. And so I say that impacted my life.
Yeah.
And I went through, I've had a career. I worked in management, mid-level management, for almost 15 years before coming to be a flight attendant. And so I had my career, and this is my fun job.
Yeah.
That's what I say every day. It's my fun job.
Yeah.
This isn't really work.
Oh, that's good. That's good. When what you enjoy, your passion is actually what you're doing.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. You kind of answered. You kind of answered it as well. The question was going to be, how did your family and friends take it? So, in terms of your family and friends now, I guess I'm talking about your aunt.
Yep.
How did she take it? And if you had any close family that was also, And okay, you answered the next one. Do you want to go public now? You already went public. You went public in 2008,
2009.
Yeah. So how did your, the family that you had, how did they take it? Your aunt and
I think the way my aunt responded was, there's nothing really that you could do or say to shock her, because she would just fall into a position of embrace. And that was the beauty of hers. is that she always embraced everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And there was no difference when I came to her with this. When I had come out to her earlier, before my parents, and because I knew I needed a support network. And then when this happened, it was just like one more thing on top that made her want to support me even more. And I would go and stay with her. And then when she started going through treatments in 2009, I was living in San Diego. I was living in Sacramento at the time, I'm sorry. And then I moved to San Diego in 2010. And I would fly on the red eye back, get to Raleigh, because she was going to do for her treatments. And I would go with her to her treatments on Mondays, and then I would turn and just fly right back. And so I think that we were there to support each other throughout all of those processes.
So basically, you guys had cancer at the same time.
She had
first.
She had ovarian. Yep.
Yeah.
So she had cancer. She and I were the same age when we were diagnosed with two different types of cancer. And then when she got ovarian, I believe it was 2007, 2008, because she passed in 2011. That I immediately did what she did for me, and that was go with her to the doctor, do the things that that she had done. Obviously, because she had her support network, she had her children, and she had her husband. But she also had me, and I felt obligated to be able to help. Yep.
Yeah.
So I would fly back and forth.
Okay. While you were still going through your own journey.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about first of all, did you have to do chemo? Did you have to do radiation?
I had what's called a mexio-pexy, and that's where they actually just do a male chest lift. That was the first. That's when they found it. I had to go do a secondary bilateral mastectomy.
Okay.
And then I went on to tamoxifen treatment, but I did not have to do radiation or chemotherapy.
Oh.
And because it was encapsulated on this side, I was able to. I did not have to do any additional chemo or radiation, which saved me a lot.
Yeah.
But I do hormonal therapy still to this day, and we monitor my estrogen levels and all of that kind of thing. Make sure that we're staying on top of because at this point I'm back in general population, right? My risk level is the same as your risk level, is the same as anybody else's risk level who's never had cancer before. Yeah. So, but if anything happens with me whatsoever, the doctors just are on it, and they put me through every type of diagnosis that they possibly can, diagnosis and tests, to make sure that I don't have any reoccurring.
Yeah.
Because that's always a question. Will something reoccur?
Yeah. Okay, so aside from your aunt, did you have any other family member that had cancer? So, because I'm just trying to understand, is it
is it genetic?
Yeah.
So, my aunt had cancer, and then my grandfather passed away from kidney cancer. And I'm trying to remember what year that was. 2003. But he was 92 when he passed away.
Yeah.
And, he battled kidney cancer, and they found it, and they had told us when he had kidney cancer that they would just remove his kidney and it would be over and done. maybe he'd have to go through some treatment.
Yeah.
But when they pulled his kidney out of his stomach, out of his abdomen, the cells dropped off, and he ended up with stomach cancer from the surgery. So he passed away from complications of stomach cancer after that. But that was a 5 or 6 year process. But other than that, no, and they were all genetically non-related. So, and I don't have any genes that preclude to breast cancer. So it's mine. The doctor thought that I was a heavier child. I was a big kid. And the doctor thinks that during my years of puberty, my estrogen levels probably got higher than they should have. And sometimes that happens. But, you know, at the time, in the 80s and 90s, we didn't really have the technology. We didn't monitor kids and their hormone levels based off of, you know, cancer predisposition. But, you know, I didn't take my first genetic test until probably 2013 or 14. And where we've come today in medicine for detection is just, it's amazing. And to see the news last week that we think we may have developed a vaccine for breast cancer, and which, you know, that's what we with when we had our day here at the general office. One thing that they were really talking about is the potential was on the very near horizon for a vaccine for breast cancer. And, you know, COVID kind of helped us get to that point. And so being able to look at the DNA mapping and determine what we can do in order to change not who you are as a genetic person, but be able to change the way the body responds, because cancer is an immunoresponse, and everybody has cancer cells. This is one thing that I learned through my treatment and educating. You work to educate yourself, but everybody has cancer cells, and all of a sudden, if the body is unable to fight those, that's when the cancer actually takes hold. And so it's very similar to that of a virus, much like COVID virus, where the body, if it has the correct ability to map a defense mechanism, it will fight that. So now with COVID, as bad as COVID was, it gave us a lot of potential in science when it comes to cancer and to other diseases as well.
So I know before I came here today, you know, I had one question in my head, so I'm just going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Like, when you say breast cancer, you think about a woman. Like, men don't have breasts. So, but I think from everything you said now, what I understanding is breast is not literally just like, it's the tissue behind the breast, and everybody has tissue,
has that.
both men and women.
Men don't have mammary glands that are necessarily working. They're there. If men were to change their hormone supplements a certain way, they could develop breasts that were functioning. Because we are mammals. Mammals are, that is what we do. We produce milk. And so at the end of the day, the difference is if your estrogen levels for men, and this is why it's so important to be routinely checked. Even just your estrogen levels and testosterone levels. If your estrogen levels become too high, then it affects certain things in the male body. And gynecomastia, which is the enlargement of the male breast, all the way to what we're seeing in prostate cancer for men, as well as colorectal cancer. We're seeing a direct correlation between those and directly correlational to estrogen. And the most important fact is that the higher your body fat percentage is, the more estrogen you produce. So even for women, if you have a higher body fat percentage, you produce more estrogen. And traditionally, why for females during their during their gestational period, they do put on more weight so that they can add more fat, so that they can actually produce more milk. So it's directly correlational, all of it. We're human beings. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether we're men or women, or however you identify. It's that our bodies do operate the same way.
Okay. Out of curiosity, I just had so many curious questions to ask. Out of curiosity, you don't do mammogram or that's something?
No, so they do mammograms on men, but for the most part, they just do CAT scans and ultrasound. And traditionally, they'll start with ultrasound. If they see something with ultrasound, then they'll move it to a CAT scan or a Metascan. And then nowadays they have specific dyes that they can, put in and see if it's a reactive or not.
So I had just one question for you. I'm sure we can't stress how important a good support system is. I know you had that half and half. You had that from your aunt, but not from your direct family. So what would you like to say to other survivors and their families that are still going through the process or just about to start the process now?
The biggest thing I would say to anybody is, if someone is diagnosed with anything, and we're talking about cancer in this situation, it's not for you to understand. It's not for you to ask questions. It's for you to support that individual. And because you know how you would respond as a person, but you don't know how that person is actually responding internally. And sometimes people do things differently and respond to things differently. And for me, I needed a little bit of space, and I needed to be able to process it in my own way. And at the time, I just wanted to work out. And so I really didn't want anybody in my way. But then there are some people who really need a lot of emotional hand-holding, and that's okay too. But the first thing is to ask yourself, what does the person need? What do I need? Because you may love this person, and they may be directly connected to you, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your mother, whether it's your sister, and your mind is saying, I'm going to lose this person. The reality with breast cancer is we don't lose that many people now, but there is a treatment process. And to be there and to support that treatment process and to support that person's emotional position is extremely important.
Well, thank you very much. Usually I have like a second phase, which is the makeup. Obviously, we're not doing makeup today. So I like to get the autograph of everyone I interview. So if you would please sign my shirt.
I will.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you. And something else I like to do, I don't know if I briefed you about myself. So I had a scare when I was 16. That was like 2010, a couple of years ago. Yeah, I had a scare. I was producing milk and I had a lump in my breast. So I had to be on medication for 3 months to stop the milk from coming out, and after which I had to do the surgery to take out the lump. Thank God it wasn't cancerous, but that was the scare that I had. Fast forward to some years later, this was 2020. I was working in a healthcare company, and I see a lot of medical records, oncology, this and that. And I was at the point where, mind you, I've been doing makeup for 10 years now, started in 2013. So I was at the point where I just wanted to be able to use my skill to be able to help other people. So I started doing my research, and I was seeing oncology, this and that, because I didn't know much about cancer. I'm originally from Nigeria. So I started doing my research, and then that was how um, I found out that a lot of women go through chemotherapy, they lose their hair, and then they start to feel like less confident and all. So I believe that's when God told me that, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do makeup on these ladies to make them feel beautiful, and all whatnot. So that's how my platform Evore by Evore started. So, like I told you earlier, I'm the current, or rather, reigning Miss Nigeria for Women of Achievement. So what I started doing last year is I started giving my ladies and men a gift to remind them that they are warriors, they're champions. So I give my ladies a crown and a sash so that they can always look at it and remember that they are queens, they are warriors. If they ever have that feeling of, oh, is it going to come back? They should just look at their crown and their sash and remember who they are, that they are fighters, they overcame it before. The Bible says, I'm Christian, the Bible says affliction will not arise a second time, and that's why I always tell them to hold on to that it's not going to come back again, right? But if they ever get in that feeling, they should always look at their crown and their sash and remind themselves that they are warriors. So I have a gift for you today. I'm not going to give you a crown, but I do have something for you.
Aww. Should I open it?
Yeah, you can. I hope you like it.
Oh, boxing gloves. I love it.
So I have
That's so cute.
thank you. I wanted to look at it. So I can't give you a crown and a sash.
I love it.
But I have
But
champions.
it says that I'm a champion.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you so much. You're so cute.
You're welcome.
Oh.
So you can hang
I'm
this
glad
on
that we
the
finally
wall.
got to do
I'm
this.
glad too.
Now you know what it's like to have to hang out with a flight attendant when we have moving schedules all the time.
Yeah, but it's totally okay. I'm so happy that you're able to make time out
Yes.
to do this with me. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on my platform. I'm so excited I can't wait to post this. Because everyone's gonna be like, oh wow, guy. Because people hear these things. Like you're the first guy that I'm meeting that had breast cancer. So I can't wait to share it with you because a lot of people are like surprised and like I was before I met you that day, and I was like, oh, I have to meet him. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to learn from this. It just creates awareness to people, and I'm so happy that you get to share your story.
Absolutely. And feel free to tag me in
definitely
the feed, Ergo Joe 1. And if anybody has any questions or needs a support network or sees this platform and has questions, maybe you're feeling something, especially you guys out there or ladies, talk to your husband and your men and make sure that they're doing their annual checks because they should be doing it as well. Okay. So if somebody needs something or is shy about asking a question, feel free to reach out to me. I'm there to support, and I've spent a lot of time researching and knowing what's going on with my body and what goes on with other men's bodies. And so let's make sure that we're getting you the help that you need.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So that's it, guys. Thank you, Barna, for coming on my platform.
Of course. Have a great day.
Thank you.
And a great weekend.
And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.